Chapter 1. The book of the generation of Yahusha Messiah, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham became the father of Isaac, and Isaac became the father of Jacob, and Jacob became the father of Judas and his brethren, and Judas became the father of Phares and Zara of Thamar, and Phares became the father of Esrom, and Esrom became the father of Aram, and Aram became the father of Amminadab, and Amminadab became the father of Naasson, and Naasson became the father of Salmon, and Salmon became the father of Boaz of Rechab, and Boaz became the father of Obed of Ruth, and Obed became the father of Jesse, and Jesse became the father of David the king, and David the king became the father of Solomon of her that had been the wife of Urias, and Solomon became the father of Rehoboam, and Rehoboam became the father of Abiah, and Abiah became the father of Asa, and Asa became the father of Josaphat, and Josaphat became the father of Joram, and Joram became the father of Ozias, and Ozias became the father of Joatham, and Joatham became the father of Achaz, and Achaz became the father of Ezekias, and Ezekias became the father of Manasses, and Manasses became the father of Ammon, and Ammon became the father of Josias, and Josias became the father of Jeconias and his brethren. About the time they were carried away to Babylon, and after they were brought to Babylon, Jeconias became the father of Salathiel, and Salathiel became the father of Zorobabel, and Zorobabel became the father of Abiud, and Abiud became the father of Eliakim, and Eliakim became the father of Azor, and Azor became the father of Sadok, and Sadok became the father of Achim, and Achim became the father of Eliud, and Eliud became the father of Eleazar, and Eleazar became the father of Mathan, and Mathan became the father of Jacob, and Jacob became the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom was born Yahusha, who is called Messiah. So all the generations from Abraham to David, 14 generations, and from David until the carrying away into Babylon, 14 generations, and from the carrying away into Babylon to Messiah, 14 generations. Now the birth of Yahusha Messiah happened in this way. When, as his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph, before they came together, she was found with child of the set-apart spirit. Then Joseph, her husband, being a just man, and not willing to make her a public example, was minded to put her away privately. But while he thought on these things, look, the angel of Yahuah appeared to him in a dream, saying, Joseph, you son of David, fear not to take to you Mary your wife. For that which is conceived in her is of the set-apart spirit, and she shall bring forth a son, and you shall call his name Yahusha, for he shall save his people from their sins. Now all this was done, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken of Yahuah by the prophet, saying, Look, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which being interpreted is Elohim with us. Then Joseph, being raised from sleep, did as the angel of Yahuah had bidden him, and took to him his wife, and knew her not till she had brought forth her firstborn son, and he called his name Yahusha. Chapter 2. Now, when Yahusha was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, look, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him. When Herod the king had heard, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Messiah should be born. And they said to him, In Bethlehem of Judea. For thus it is written by the prophet, And you, Bethlehem, the land of Judah, are not the least among the princes of Judah. For out of you shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel." Then Herod, when he had privately called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search diligently for the young child, and when you have found, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also." When they had heard the king, they departed. And behold, the star, which they saw in the east, went before them till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented to him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And being warned of Elohim in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way. And when they were departed, look, the angel of Yahuah appears to Joseph in a dream, saying, "Arise and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and be you there until I bring you word. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him." When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night, and departed into Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken of Yahuah by the prophet, saying, "Out of Egypt have I called my son." Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremy the prophet, saying, "In Ramah was there a voice heard, lamentation and weeping, and great mourning, Rachel weeping her children, and would not be comforted, because they are not." But when Herod was dead, look, an angel of Yahuah appears in a dream to Joseph in Egypt, saying, "Arise, and take the young child and his mother, and go into the land of Israel. For they are dead which sought the young child's life." And he arose, and took the young child and his mother, and came into the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus did reign in Judea in the room of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there. Notwithstanding, being warned of Elohim in a dream, he turned aside into the parts of Galilee. And he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets, "He shall be called a Nazarene." Chapter 3. In those days came John the Baptist, preaching in the wilderness of Judea, and saying, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand." For this is he that was spoken of by the prophet Esaias, saying, "The voice of one crying in the wilderness, Prepare you the way of Yahuah, make his path straight." And the same John had his raiment of camel's hair, and a leathern girdle about his loins, and his meat was locusts and wild honey. Then went out to him Jerusalem, and all Judea, and all the region round about Jordan, and were baptized of him in Jordan, confessing their sins. But when he saw many of the Pharisees and Sadducees come to his baptism, he said to them, "O generation of vipers, who has warned you to flee from the wrath to come? Bring forth therefore fruits meet for repentance, and think not to say within yourselves, 'We have Abraham to father.' For I say to you that Elohim is able of these stones to raise up children to Abraham. And now also the axe is laid to the root of the trees. Therefore every tree which brings not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. I indeed baptize you with water to repentance, but he that comes after me is mightier than I, whose shoes I am not worthy to bear. He shall baptize you with the set-apart spirit and fire, whose fan in his hand, and he will thoroughly purge his floor and gather his wheat into the garner, but he will burn up the chaff with unquenchable fire. Then comes Yahusha from Galilee to Jordan to John to be baptized of him. But John forbade him, saying, I have need to be baptized of you, and come you to me? And Yahusha answering said to him, Suffer now, for thus it becomes us to fulfill all righteousness. Then he suffered him. And Yahusha, when he was baptized, went up immediately out of the water. And behold, the heavens were opened to him. And he saw the Spirit of Elohim descending like a dove, and lighting upon him. And behold, a voice from heaven, saying, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Chapter 4. Then was Yahusha led up of the Spirit into the wilderness, to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward and hungered. And when the tempter came to him, he said, If you be the Son of Elohim, command that these stones be made bread. But he answered and said, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Elohim. Then the devil takes him up into the holy city, and sets him on a pinnacle of the temple, and says to him, If you be the Son of Elohim, cast yourself down. For it is written, He shall give his angels charge concerning you, and in hands they shall bear you up, lest at any time you dash your foot against a stone. Yahusha said to him, It is written again, You shall not tempt Yahuah your Elohim. Again, the devil takes him up into an exceeding high mountain, and shows him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them, and says to him, All these things will I give you, if you will fall down and worship me. Then says Yahusha to him, Get you hence, Satan, for it is written, You shall worship Yahuah your Elohim, and him only shall you serve. Then the devil leaves him. And look, angels came and ministered to him. Now, when Yahusha had heard that John was cast into prison, he departed into Galilee, and leaving Nazareth, he came and dwelt in Capernaum, which is upon the sea coast, in the borders of Zabulon and Nephthalim, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Esaias the prophet, saying, The land of Zabulon and the land of Nephthalim, the way of the sea, beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people which sat in darkness saw great light, and to them which sat in the region and shadow of death light is sprung up. From that time Yahusha began to preach, and to say, Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And Yahusha, walking by the sea of Galilee, saw two brethren, Simon called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And he says to them, Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. And they immediately left nets and followed him. And going on from there, he saw other two brethren, James of Zebedee and John his brother, in a ship with Zebedee their father, mending their nets, and he called them. And they immediately left the ship and their father, and followed him. And Yahusha went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, and preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing all manner of sickness and all manner of disease among the people. And his fame went throughout all Syria. And they brought to him all sick people that were taken with divers diseases and torments, and those which were possessed with devils, and those which were lunatic, and those that had the palsy. And he healed them. And there followed him great multitudes of people from Galilee, and Decapolis, and Jerusalem, and Judea, and beyond Jordan. Chapter 5. And seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain. And when he was set, his disciples came to him, And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see Elohim. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of Elohim. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you, when shall revile you and persecute, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely, for my sake. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt have lost his savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out, and to be trodden under foot of men. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on an hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it gives light to all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For truly I say to you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say to you, that except your righteousness shall exceed of the Scribes and Pharisees, you shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. You have heard that it was said by them of old time, You shall not kill, and whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment. But I say to you, that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Raca, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, You fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. Therefore, if you bring your gift to the altar, and there remember that your brother has aught against you, leave there your gift before the altar, and go your way. First be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer your gift. Agree with your adversary quickly, whilst you are in the way with him, lest at any time the adversary deliver you to the judge, and the judge deliver you to the officer, and you be cast into prison. Truly I say to you, you shall by no means come out from there, till you have paid the uttermost farthing. You have heard that it was said by them of old time, You shall not commit adultery. But I say to you, that whosoever looks on a woman to lust after her has committed adultery with her already in his heart. And if your right eye offend you, pluck it out and cast from you. For it is profitable for you that one of your members should perish, and not your whole body should be cast into hell. And if your right hand offend you, cut it off and cast from you. For it is profitable for you that one of your members should perish, and not your whole body should be cast into hell. It has been said, Whosoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writing of divorcement. But I say to you, that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causes her to commit adultery, and whosoever shall marry her that is divorced, commits adultery. Again, you have heard that it has been said by them of old time, You shall not forswear yourself. but shall perform to Yahuah your oaths. But I say to you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is Elohim's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. Neither shall you swear by your head, because you cannot make one hair white or black. But let your communication be yes, yes, no, no. For whatsoever is more than these comes of evil. You have heard that it has been said, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, that you resist not evil. But whosoever shall smite you on your right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if any man will sue you at the law, and take away your coat, let him have cloak also. And whosoever shall compel you to go a mile, go with him twain. Give to him that asks you, and from him that would borrow of you turn not you away. You have heard that it has been said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he makes his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust. For if you love them which love you, what reward have you? Do not even the publicans the same? And if you salute your brethren only, what do you more? Do not even the publicans so? Be you therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. Chapter 6. Take heed that you do not your alms before men, to be seen of them. Otherwise you have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. Therefore when you do alms, do not sound a trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory of men. Truly I say to you, they have their reward. But when you do alms, let not your left hand know what your right hand does, that your alms may be in secret. And your Father, which sees in secret himself, shall reward you openly. And when you pray, you shall not be as the hypocrites. For they love to pray standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men. Truly I say to you, they have their reward. But you, when you pray, enter into your closet, and when you have shut your door, pray to your Father, which is in secret, and your Father, which sees in secret, shall reward you openly. But when you pray, use not vain repetitions as the heathen, for they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking. Be not you therefore like to them, for your Father knows what things you have need of, before you ask him. After this manner therefore pray you, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done in earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. For if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you forgive not men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. Moreover, when you fast, be not as the hypocrites, of a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear to men to fast. Truly, I say to you, they have their reward. But you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, that you appear not to men to fast, but to your Father, which is in secret. And your Father, which sees in secret, shall reward you openly. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust does corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust does corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye be single, your whole body shall be full of light. But if your eye be evil, your whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you be darkness, how great that darkness! No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve Elohim and Mammon. Therefore I say to you, take no thought for your life, what you shall eat, or what you shall drink, nor yet for your body, what you shall put on. Is not the life more than meat, and the body than raiment? Look at the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns. Yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much better than they? Which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit to his stature? And why take you thought for raiment? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin. And yet I say to you, that even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. Therefore, if Elohim so clothe the grass of the field, which today is and tomorrow is cast into the oven, not much more you, O you of little faith. Therefore take no thought, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or wherewithal shall we be clothed? For after all these things do the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knows that you have need of all these things. But seek you first the kingdom of Elohim and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. Take therefore no thought for the morrow, for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient to the day the evil of it. Chapter 7. Judge not that you be not judged. For with what judgment you judge, you shall be judged. And with what measure you use, it shall be measured to you again. And why look you the mote that is in your brother's eye? But consider not the beam that is in your own eye. Or how will you say to your brother, let me pull out the mote out of your eye, and look, a beam in your own eye? You hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of your own eye, and then shall you see clearly to cast out the mote out of your brother's eye. Give not that which is holy to the dogs, neither cast you your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet, and turn again and rend you. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened to you. For everyone that asks receives, and he that seeks finds, and to him that knocks it shall be opened. Or what man is there of you, whom if his son ask bread, will he give him a stone? Or if he ask a fish, will he give him a serpent? If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more shall your Father which is in heaven give good things to them that ask him? Therefore all things whatsoever you would that men should do to you, do you even so to them. For this is the law and the prophets. Enter you in at the strait gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Because strait is the gate, and narrow is the way which leads to life, and few there be that find it. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns, or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree brings forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree brings forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that brings not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Therefore by their fruits you shall know them. Not everyone that says to me, Master, Master, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that does the will of my Father, which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Master, Master, have we not prophesied in your name? And in your name have cast out devils? And in your name done many wonderful works? And then will I profess to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you that work iniquity. Therefore whosoever hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken him to a wise man, which built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house. And it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And everyone that hears these sayings of mine, and does them not, shall be likened to a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. And it came to pass, when Yahusha had ended these sayings, the people were astonished at his doctrine. For he taught them as having authority, and not as the scribes. Chapter 8. When he was come down from the mountain, great multitudes followed him. And look, there came a leper, and worshipped him, saying, Master, if you will, you can make me clean. And Yahusha put forth his hand, and touched him, saying, I will, be you clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. And Yahusha says to him, See you tell no man, but go your way, show yourself to the priest, and offer the gift that Moses commanded, for a testimony to them. And when Yahusha was entered into Capernaum, there came to him a centurion, beseeching him, and saying, Master, my servant lies at home sick of the palsy, grievously tormented. And Yahusha says to him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Master, I am not worthy that you should come under my roof, but speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed. For I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this, Go, and he goes. And to another, Come, and he comes. And to my servant, Do this, and he does. When Yahusha heard, he marveled, and said to them that followed, Truly I say to you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. And I say to you, that many shall come from the east and west, and shall sit down with Abraham, and Isaac, and Jacob, in the kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom shall be cast out into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And Yahusha said to the centurion, Go your way, and as you have believed, be it done to you. And his servant was healed in the selfsame hour. And when Yahusha was come into Peter's house, he saw his wife's mother laid, and sick of a fever. And he touched her hand, and the fever left her. And she arose, and ministered to them. When the even was come, they brought to him many that were possessed with devils. And he cast out the spirits with word, and healed all that were sick, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Esaias the prophet, saying, Himself took our infirmities, and bare sicknesses. Now when Yahusha saw great multitudes about him, he gave commandment to depart to the other side. And a certain scribe came, and said to him, Master, I will follow you whithersoever you go. And Yahusha says to him, The foxes have holes, and the birds of the air nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. And another of his disciples said to him, Master, Suffer me first to go and bury my father." But Yahusha said to him, "Follow me, and let the dead bury their dead." And when he was entered into a ship, his disciples followed him. And look, there arose a great tempest in the sea, insomuch that the ship was covered with the waves. But he was asleep. And his disciples came to, and awoke him, saying, "Master, save us. We perish." And he says to them, "Why are you fearful, O you of little faith?" Then he arose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. But the men marveled, saying, "What manner of man is this, that even the winds and the sea obey him?" And when he was come to the other side, into the country of the Gergesenes, there met him two possessed with devils, coming out of the tombs, exceeding fierce, so that no man might pass by that way. And look, they cried out, saying, "What have we to do with you, Yahusha, you son of Elohim? Are you come here to torment us before the time?" And there was a good way off from them an herd of many swine feeding. So the devils besought him, saying, "If you cast us out, suffer us to go away into the herd of swine." And he said to them, "Go." And when they were come out, they went into the herd of swine, and look, the whole herd of swine ran violently down a steep place into the sea, and perished in the waters. And those who kept them fled, and went their ways into the city, and told everything, and what was befallen to the possessed of the devils. And look, the whole city came out to meet Yahusha. And when they saw him, they besought that he would depart out of their coasts. Chapter 9. And he entered into a ship, and passed over, and came into his own city. And look, they brought to him a man, sick of the palsy, lying on a bed. And Yahusha, seeing their faith, said to the sick of the palsy, "Son, be of good cheer, your sins be forgiven you." And look, certain of the scribes said within themselves, "This man blasphemes." And Yahusha, knowing their thoughts, said, "Therefore think you evil in your hearts? For which is easier to say, 'Sins be forgiven you,' or to say, 'Arise and walk'? But that you may know that the Son of Man has power on earth to forgive sins." Then says he to the sick of the palsy, "Arise, take up your bed, and go to your house." And he arose and departed to his house. But when the multitude saw, they marveled and glorified Elohim, which had given such power to men. And as Yahusha passed forth from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the receipt of custom. And he says to him, "Follow me." And he arose and followed him. And it came to pass, as Yahusha sat at meat in the house, look, many publicans and sinners came and sat down with him and his disciples. And when the Pharisees saw, they said to his disciples, "Why eats your master with publicans and sinners?" But when Yahusha heard, he said to them, "They that be whole need not a physician, but those who are sick. But go you and learn what means. I will have mercy and not sacrifice. For I am not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance." Then came to him the disciples of John, saying, "Why do we and the Pharisees fast off, but your disciples fast not?" And Yahusha said to them, "Can the children of the bride chamber mourn, as long as the bridegroom is with them? But the days will come, when the bridegroom shall be taken from them, and then shall they fast. No man puts a piece of new cloth to an old garment, for that which is put in to fill it up takes from the garment, and the rent is made worse. Neither do men put new wine into old bottles, else the bottles break, and the wine runs out, and the bottles perish. But they put new wine into new bottles, and both are preserved." While he spoke these things to them, look, there came a certain ruler and worshipped him, saying, My daughter is even now dead. But come and lay your hand upon her, and she shall live." And Yahusha arose and followed him and his disciples. And look, a woman, which was diseased with an issue of blood 12 years, came behind and touched the hem of his garment. For she said within herself, "If I may but touch his garment, I shall be whole." But Yahusha turned him about, and when he saw her, he said, "Daughter, be of good comfort. Your faith has made you whole." And the woman was made whole from that hour. And when Yahusha came into the ruler's house and saw the minstrels and the people making a noise, he said to them, "Give place, for the maid is not dead, but sleeps." And they laughed him to scorn. But when the people were put forth, he went in and took her by the hand. And the maid arose, and the fame hereof went abroad into all that land. And when Yahusha departed from there, 2 blind men followed him, crying and saying, "Son of David, have mercy on us." And when he was come into the house, the blind men came to him. And Yahusha says to them, "Believe you that I am able to do this?" They said to him, "Yes, Master." Then touched he their eyes, saying, "According to your faith, be it to you." And their eyes were opened. And Yahusha straitly charged them, saying, "See no man, no." But they, when they were departed, spread abroad his fame in all that country. As they went out, look, they brought to him a dumb man, possessed with a devil. And when the devil was cast out, the dumb spoke. And the multitudes marveled, saying, "It was never so seen in Israel." But the Pharisees said, "He casts out devils through the prince of the devils." And Yahusha went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues, and preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every sickness and every disease among the people. But when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion on them, because they fainted and were scattered abroad, as sheep having no shepherd. Then says he to his disciples, "The harvest truly plenteous, but the laborers few. Pray you therefore the master of the harvest, that he will send forth laborers into his harvest." Chapter 10. And when he had called to his 12 disciples, he gave them power over unclean spirits, to cast them out, and to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease. Now the names of the 12 apostles are these: the first, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, James of Zebedee, and John his brother, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the publican, James of Alphaeus and Lebbaeus, whose surname was Thaddeus, Simon the Canaanite, and Judas Iscariot, who also betrayed him. These 12 Yahusha sent forth, and commanded them, saying, "Go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into city of the Samaritans enter you not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as you go, preach, saying, The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out devils. Freely you have received, freely give. Provide neither gold, nor silver, nor brass in your purses, nor scrip for journey, neither 2 coats, neither shoes, nor yet staves. For the workman is worthy of his meat. And into whatsoever city or town you shall enter, inquire who in it is worthy, and there abide till you go from there. And when you come into an house, salute it. And if the house be worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it be not worthy, let your peace return to you. And whosoever shall not receive you, nor hear your words, when you depart out of that house or city, shake off the dust of your feet. Truly I say to you, it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. Look, send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be you therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues. And you shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what you shall speak. For it shall be given you in that same hour what you shall speak. For it is not you that speak, but the Spirit of your Father, which speaks in you. And the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child. And the children shall rise up against parents, and cause them to be put to death. And you shall be hated of all for my name's sake. But he that endures to the end shall be saved. But when they persecute you in this city, flee you into another. For truly I say to you, you shall not have gone over the cities of Israel till the Son of Man be come. The disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his master. It is enough for the disciple that he be as his master, and the servant as his master. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more them of his household? Fear them not, therefore. For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. What I tell you in darkness, speak you in light, and what you hear in the ear, preach you upon the housetops. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a farthing? And one of them shall not fall on the ground without your Father. But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear you not, therefore. You are of more value than many sparrows. Whosoever therefore shall confess me before men, him will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven. But whosoever shall deny me before men, him will I also deny before my Father which is in heaven. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's foes they of his own household. He that loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he that loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he that takes not his cross and follows after me is not worthy of me. He that finds his life shall lose it, and he that loses his life for my sake shall find it. He that receives you receives me, and he that receives me receives him that sent me. He that receives a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward. And he that receives a righteous man in the name of a righteous man shall receive a righteous man's reward. And whosoever shall give to drink to one of these little ones a cup of cold, only in the name of a disciple, truly I say to you, he shall in no wise lose his reward. Chapter 11. And it came to pass, when Yahusha had made an end of commanding his 12 disciples, he departed from there to teach and to preach in their cities. Now when John had heard in the prison the works of Messiah, he sent 2 of his disciples, and said to him, Are you he that should come, or do we look for another? Yahusha answered and said to them, Go and show John again those things which you do hear and see. The blind receive their sight, and the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear. The dead are raised up, and the poor have the gospel preached to them. And blessed is whosoever shall not be offended in me. And as they departed, Yahusha began to say to the multitudes concerning John, What went you out into the wilderness to see? A reed shaken with the wind? But what went you out for to see? A man clothed in soft raiment? Look, those who wear soft are in kings' houses. But what went you out for to see? A prophet? Yes, I say to you, and more than a prophet. For this is of whom it is written, Look, I send my messenger before your face, which shall prepare your way before you. Truly, I say to you, among them that are born of women, there has not risen a greater than John the Baptist. Notwithstanding, he that is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. And from the days of John the Baptist until now the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent take it by force. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. And if you will receive, this is Elias, which was for to come. He that has ears to hear, let him hear. But whereunto shall I liken this generation? It is like to children sitting in the markets, and calling to their fellows, and saying, We have piped to you, and you have not danced. We have mourned to you, and you have not lamented. For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say, He has a devil. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, Look, a man gluttonous and a wine-bibber, a friend of publicans and sinners. But wisdom is justified of her children. Then began he to upbraid the cities, in which most of his mighty works were done, because they repented not. Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the mighty works which were done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes. But I say to you, it shall be more tolerable for Tyre and Sidon at the day of judgment than for you. And you, Capernaum, which are exalted to heaven, shall be brought down to hell. For if the mighty works which have been done in you had been done in Sodom, it would have remained until this day. But I say to you, that it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom in the day of judgment than for you. At that time, Yahusha answered and said, I thank you, O Father, Master of heaven and earth, because you have hid these things from the wise and prudent, and have revealed them to babes. Even so, Father, for so it seemed good in your sight. All things are delivered to me of my Father, and no man knows the Son but the Father, neither knows any man the Father, save the Son, and to whomsoever the Son will reveal. Come to me, all that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest to your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Chapter 12. At that time, Yahusha went on the Sabbath day through the corn, and his disciples were an hungered, and began to pluck the ears of corn, and to eat. But when the Pharisees saw, they said to him, Look, your disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day. But he said to them, Have you not read what David did when he was an hungered, and those who were with him? How he entered into the house of Elohim, and did eat the shewbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priests. Or have you not read in the law, how that on the Sabbath days the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath, and are blameless? But I say to you, that in this place is greater than the temple. But if you had known what means, I will have mercy, and not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the guiltless. For the Son of Man is master even of the Sabbath day. And when he was departed from there, he went into their synagogue. And look, there was a man with a withered hand. And they asked him, saying, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath days? That they might accuse him. And he said to them, What man shall there be among you that shall have one sheep, and if it fall into a pit on the Sabbath day, will he not lay hold on it and lift out? How much then is a man better than a sheep? Therefore it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath days. Then says he to the man, Stretch forth your hand. And he stretched forth, and it was restored whole, like as the other. Then the Pharisees went out, and held a council against him, how they might destroy him. But when Yahusha knew, he withdrew himself from there, and great multitudes followed him, and he healed them all, and charged them that they should not make him known, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Esaias the prophet, saying, Look, my servant, whom I have chosen, my beloved, in whom my soul is well pleased. I will put my spirit upon him, and he shall show judgment to the Gentiles. He shall not strive, nor cry, neither shall any man hear his voice in the streets. A bruised reed shall he not break, and smoking flax shall he not quench, till he send forth judgment to victory. And in his name shall the Gentiles trust. Then was brought to him one possessed with a devil, blind and dumb. And he healed him, insomuch that the blind and dumb both spoke and saw. And all the people were amazed, and said, Is not this the son of David? But when the Pharisees heard, they said, This does not cast out devils, but by Beelzebub, the prince of the devils. And Yahusha knew their thoughts, and said to them, Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? And if I by Beelzebub cast out devils, by whom do your children cast out? Therefore they shall be your judges. But if I cast out devils by the Spirit of Elohim, then the kingdom of Elohim is come to you. Or else, how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man? And then he will spoil his house. He that is not with me is against me, and he that gathers not with me scatters abroad. Therefore I say to you, all manner of sin and blasphemy shall be forgiven to men, but the blasphemy against the set-apart Spirit shall not be forgiven to men. And whosoever speaks a word against the Son of Man, it shall be forgiven him. But whosoever speaks against the set-apart Spirit, it shall not be forgiven him, neither in this world, neither in the to come. Either make the tree good, and his fruit good, or else make the tree corrupt, and his fruit corrupt, for the tree is known by fruit. O generation of vipers, how can you, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. A good man out of the good treasure of the heart brings forth good things, and an evil man out of the evil treasure brings forth evil things. But I say to you, that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account of it in the day of judgment. For by your words you shall be justified, and by your words you shall be condemned. Then certain of the Scribes and of the Pharisees answered, saying, Master, we would see a sign from you. But he answered and said to them, An evil and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and there shall no sign be given to it, but the sign of the prophet Jonas. For as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. The men of Nineveh shall rise in judgment with this generation, and shall condemn it, because they repented at the preaching of Jonas. And look, a greater than Jonas here. The queen of the south shall rise up in the judgment with this generation, and shall condemn it. For she came from the uttermost parts of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and look, a greater than Solomon here. When the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walks through dry places, seeking rest, and finds none. Then he says, I will return into my house from where I came out. And when he is come, he finds it empty, swept, and decorated. Then goes he, and takes with himself 7 other spirits more wicked than himself, and they enter in and dwell there. And the last of that man is worse than the first. Even so shall it be also to this wicked generation. While he yet talked to the people, look, mother and his brethren stood without, desiring to speak with him. Then one said to him, Look, your mother and your brethren stand without, desiring to speak with you. But he answered and said to him that told him, Who is my mother, and who are my brethren? And he stretched forth his hand toward his disciples, and said, Look, my mother and my brethren. For whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother, and sister, and mother. Chapter 13. The same day went Yahusha out of the house, and sat by the seaside. And great multitudes were gathered together to him, so that he went into a ship and sat. And the whole multitude stood on the shore. And he spoke many things to them in parables, saying, Look, a sower went forth to sow. And when he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell upon stony places, where they had not much earth. And immediately they sprang up, because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched. And because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprang up and choked them. But other fell into good ground, and brought forth fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. Who has ears to hear, let him hear. And the disciples came, and said to him, Why speak you to them in parables? He answered, and said to them, Because it is given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. But to them it is not given. For whosoever has, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever has not, from him shall be taken away, even that he has. Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Esaias, which says, By hearing you shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing you shall see, and shall not perceive. For this people's heart has grown gross, and ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with eyes, and hear with ears, and should understand with heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For truly I say to you, that many prophets and righteous have desired to see what you see, and have not seen, and to hear which you hear and have not heard. Hear you therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and understands not, then comes the wicked, and catches away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which received seed by the wayside. But he that received the seed into stony places, the same is he that hears the word, and anon with joy receives it. Yet has he not root in himself, but endures for a while. For when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, by and by he is offended. He also that received seed among the thorns is he that hears the word. And the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becomes unfruitful. But he that received seed into the good ground is he that hears the word and understands, which also bears fruit and brings forth, some an hundredfold, some 60, some 30. Another parable put he forth to them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is likened to a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said to him, Sir, did not you sow good seed in your field? From where then has it tares? He said to them, An enemy has done this. The servants said to him, Will you then that we go and gather them up? But he said, No, lest while you gather up the tares, you root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest I will say to the reapers, Gather you together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them. But gather the wheat into my barn. Another parable put he forth to them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is like to a grain of mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all seeds. But when it is grown, it is the great among herbs, and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and lodge in the branches of it. Another parable spoke he to them. The kingdom of heaven is like to leaven, which a woman took, and hid in 3 measures of meal, till the whole was leavened. All these things spoke Yahusha to the multitude in parables, and without a parable spoke he not to them, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world. Then Yahusha sent the multitude away, and went into the house. And his disciples came to him, saying, Declare to us the parable of the tares of the field. He answered and said to them, He that sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who has ears to hear, let him hear. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like to treasure hid in a field, the which, when a man has found, he hides, and for joy of it goes and sells all that he has, and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like to a merchant man, seeking goodly pearls, who, when he had found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had, and bought it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like to a net that was cast into the sea and gathered of every kind, which, when it was full, they drew to shore and sat down, and gathered the good into vessels, but cast the bad away. So shall it be at the end of the world. The angels shall come forth and sever the wicked from among the just, and shall cast them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Yahusha says to them, Have you understood all these things? They say to him, Yes, Master. Then said he to them, Therefore every scribe instructed to the kingdom of heaven is like to a man who is a householder, which brings forth out of his treasure new and old. And it came to pass, when Yahusha had finished these parables, he departed from there. And when he was come into his own country, he taught them in their synagogue, insomuch that they were astonished, and said, From where has this wisdom and mighty works? Is not this the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary? And his brethren, James, and Joses, and Simon, and Judas? And his sisters, are they not all with us? From where then has all these things? And they were offended in him. But Yahusha said to them, A prophet is not without honor, save in his own country and in his own house. And he did not many mighty works there because of their unbelief. Chapter 14. At that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard of the fame of Yahusha, and said to his servants, This is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works do show forth themselves in him. For Herod had laid hold on John, and bound him, and put in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife. For John said to him, It is not lawful for you to have her. And when he would have put him to death, he feared the multitude, because they counted him as a prophet. But when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herodias danced before them, and pleased Herod. Whereupon he promised with an oath to give her whatsoever she would ask. And she, being before instructed of her mother, said, Give me here John Baptist's head in a charger. And the king was sorry. Nevertheless, for the oath's sake, and them which sat with him at meat, he commanded to be given, and he sent, and beheaded John in the prison. And his head was brought in a charger, and given to the damsel, and she brought to her mother. And his disciples came, and took up the body, and buried it, and went and told Yahusha. When Yahusha heard, he departed from there by ship into a desert place apart, and when the people had heard, they followed him on foot out of the cities. And Yahusha went forth, and saw a great multitude, and was moved with compassion toward them, and he healed their sick. And when it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, This is a desert place, and the time is now past. Send the multitude away, that they may go into the villages, and buy themselves victuals. But Yahusha said to them, They need not depart. Give you them to eat. And they say to him, We have here but 5 loaves and 2 fishes. He said, Bring them here to me. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the grass, and took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and brake, and gave the loaves to disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. And they did all eat, and were filled. And they took up of the fragments that remained 12 baskets full. And those who had eaten were about 5,000 men, beside women and children. And immediately Yahusha constrained his disciples to get into a ship, and to go before him to the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the 4th watch of the night, Yahusha went to them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit. And they cried out for fear. But immediately Yahusha spoke to them, saying, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him, and said, Master, if it be you, bid me come to you on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water, to go to Yahusha. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Master, save me. And immediately Yahusha stretched forth hand, and caught him, and said to him, O you of little faith, Therefore did you doubt? And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. Then those who were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, Of a truth you are the Son of Elohim. And when they were gone over, they came into the land of Gennesaret. And when the men of that place had knowledge of him, they sent out into all that country round about, and brought to him all that were diseased, and besought him that they might only touch the hem of his garment, and as many as touched were made perfectly whole. Chapter 15. Then came to Yahusha scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, Why do your disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. But he answered and said to them, Why do you also transgress the commandment of Elohim by your tradition? For Elohim commanded, saying, Honor your father and mother, and he that curses father or mother, let him die the death. But you say, Whosoever shall say to his father or mother, A gift, by whatsoever you might be profited by me, he does not honor his father or his mother. Thus have you made the commandment of Elohim of none effect by your tradition. Hypocrites! Well did Esaias prophesy of you, saying, This people draws near to me with their mouth, and honors me with lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching doctrines the commandments of men. And he called the multitude, and said to them, Hear and understand. Not that which goes into the mouth defiles a man, but that which comes out of the mouth, this defiles a man. Then came his disciples, and said to him, Know you that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying? But he answered and said, Every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted shall be rooted up. Let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. Then answered Peter and said to him, Declare to us this parable. And Yahusha said, Are you also yet without understanding? Do not you yet understand that whatsoever enters in at the mouth goes into the belly and is cast out into the draught? But those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile the man. For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemies. These are which defile a man. But to eat with unwashen hands defiles not a man. Then Yahusha went from there, and departed into the coasts of Tyre and Sidon. And look, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coasts, and cried to him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Master, Son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with a devil. But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she cries after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Master, help me. But he answered and said, It is not meet to take the children's bread and to cast to dogs. And she said, Truth, Master. Yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Then Yahusha answered and said to her, O woman, great your faith. Be it to you even as you will. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. And Yahusha departed from there, and came near to the Sea of Galilee, and went up into a mountain, and sat down there. And great multitudes came to him, having with them lame, blind, dumb, maimed, and many others, and cast them down at Yahusha's feet. And he healed them, insomuch that the multitude wondered when they saw the dumb to speak, the maimed to be whole, the lame to walk, and the blind to see. And they glorified the Elohim of Israel. Then Yahusha called his disciples and said, I have compassion on the multitude, because they continue with me now 3 days, and have nothing to eat. And I will not send them away fasting, lest they faint in the way. And his disciples say to him, From where should we have so much bread in the wilderness as to fill so great a multitude? And Yahusha says to them, How many loaves have you? And they said, 7, and a few little fishes. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves and the fishes, and gave thanks, and brake, and gave to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. And they did all eat, and were filled, and they took up of the broken that was left 7 baskets full. And those who did eat were 4,000 men, beside women and children. And he sent away the multitude, and took ship, and came into the coasts of Magdala. Chapter 16. The Pharisees also with the Sadducees came, and tempting desired him that he would show them a sign from heaven. He answered and said to them, When it is evening, you say, Fair weather, for the sky is red, and in the morning, foul weather today. For the sky is red and lowering. O hypocrites, you can discern the face of the sky, but can you not the signs of the times? A wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and there shall no sign be given to it, but the sign of the prophet Jonas. And he left them and departed. And when his disciples were come to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. Then Yahusha said to them, Take heed, and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, Because we have taken no bread. When Yahusha perceived, he said to them, O you of little faith, why reason you among yourselves, because you have brought no bread? Do you not yet understand? Neither remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000, and how many baskets you took up? Neither the 7 loaves of the 4,000, and how many baskets you took up? How is it that you do not understand that I spoke not to you concerning bread, that you should beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees? Then understood they how that he bade not beware of the leaven of bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. When Yahusha came into the coasts of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? And they said, Some John the Baptist, some Elias, and others Jeremias, or one of the prophets. He says to them, But whom say you that I am? And Simon Peter answered and said, You are the Messiah, the Son of the living Elohim. And Yahusha answered and said to him, Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed to you, but my Father, which is in heaven. And I say also to you, that you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I will give to you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And whatsoever you shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Then charged he his disciples that they should tell no man that he was Yahusha the Messiah. From that time forth began Yahusha to show to his disciples how that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed and be raised again the 3rd day. Then Peter took him and began to rebuke him, saying, Be it far from you, Master. This shall not be to you. But he turned and said to Peter, Get you behind me, Satan. You are an offense to me, for you savor not the things that be of Elohim, but those that be of men." Then said Yahusha to his disciples, "If any will come after me, let him deny himself, and take up his cross, and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. For what is a man profited, if he shall gain the whole world, and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels. And then he shall reward every man according to his works. Truly I say to you, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death, till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." Chapter 17. And after 6 days, Yahusha takes Peter, James, and John his brother, and brings them up into an high mountain apart, and was transfigured before them. And his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. And look, there appeared to them Moses and Elias talking with him. Then answered Peter and said to Yahusha, "Master, it is good for us to be here. If you will, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for you, and one for Moses, and one for Elias." While he yet spoke, look, a bright cloud overshadowed them. And look, a voice out of the cloud, which said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear you him." And when the disciples heard, they fell on their face, and were sore afraid. And Yahusha came and touched them, and said, "Arise, and be not afraid." And when they had lifted up their eyes, they saw no man save Yahusha only. And as they came down from the mountain, Yahusha charged them, saying, "Tell the vision to no man, until the Son of Man be risen again from the dead." And his disciples asked him, saying, "Why then say the scribes that Elias must first come?" And Yahusha answered and said to them, "Elias truly shall first come and restore all things. But I say to you that Elias is come already, and they knew him not, but have done to him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them." Then the disciples understood that he spoke to them of John the Baptist. And when they were come to the multitude, there came to him a man, kneeling down to him, and saying, "Master, have mercy on my son, for he is lunatic and sore vexed. For oft times he falls into the fire, and oft into the water. And I brought him to your disciples, and they could not cure him." Then Yahusha answered and said, "O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him here to me." And Yahusha rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him. And the child was cured from that very hour. Then came the disciples to Yahusha apart and said, "Why could not we cast him out?" And Yahusha said to them, "Because of your unbelief. For truly I say to you, if you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, you shall say to this mountain, 'Remove hence to yonder place,' and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible to you. Howbeit this kind goes not out, but by prayer and fasting." And while they abode in Galilee, Yahusha said to them, "The Son of Man shall be betrayed into the hands of men, and they shall kill him, and the 3rd day he shall be raised again." And they were exceeding sorry. And when they were come to Capernaum, those who received tribute came to Peter and said, "Does not your master pay tribute?" He says, "Yes." And when he was come into the house, Yahusha prevented him, saying, "What think you, Simon? Of whom do the kings of the earth take custom or tribute? Of their own children, or of strangers?" Peter says to him, "Of strangers." Yahusha says to him, "Then are the children free. Notwithstanding, lest we should offend them, go you to the sea, and cast an hook, and take up the fish that first comes up. And when you have opened his mouth, you shall find a piece of money. That take and give to them for me and you. Chapter 18. At the same time came the disciples to Yahusha, saying, Who is the great in the kingdom of heaven? And Yahusha called a little child to him, and set him in the midst of them, and said, Truly I say to you, except you be converted, and become as little children, you shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is great in the kingdom of heaven. And whoso shall receive one such little child in my name receives me. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Woe to the world because of offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come, but woe to that man by whom the offense comes. Therefore, if your hand or your foot offend you, cut them off and cast from you. It is better for you to enter into life halt or maimed, rather than having 2 hands or 2 feet to be cast into everlasting fire. And if your eye offend you, pluck it out and cast from you. It is better for you to enter into life with 1 eye, rather than having 2 eyes to be cast into hell fire. Take heed that you despise not one of these little ones. For I say to you, that in heaven their angels do always look the face of my Father which is in heaven. For the Son of Man is come to save that which was lost. How think you? If a man have 100 sheep, and one of them be gone astray, does he not leave the 99 and goes into the mountains, and seeks that which is gone astray? And if so be that he find it, truly I say to you, he rejoices more of that than of the 99 which went not astray. Even so, it is not the will of your Father which is in heaven, that one of these little ones should perish. Moreover, if your brother shall trespass against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he shall hear you, you have gained your brother. But if he will not hear, take with you 1 or 2 more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell to the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be to you as an heathen man and a publican. Truly I say to you, whatsoever you shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Again I say to you, that if 2 of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. Then came Peter to him and said, Master, how oft shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Till 7 times? Yahusha says to him, I say not to you, until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. Therefore is the kingdom of heaven likened to a certain king, which would take account of his servants. And when he had begun to reckon, one was brought to him, which owed him 10,000 talents. But forasmuch as he had not to pay, his master commanded him to be sold, and his wife, and children, and all that he had, and payment to be made. The servant therefore fell down and worshipped him, saying, Master, have patience with me, and I will pay you all. Then the master of that servant was moved with compassion, and loosed him, and forgave him the debt. But the same servant went out, and found one of his fellow servants, which owed him 100 pence. And he laid hands on him, and took by the throat, saying, Pay me that you owe. And his fellow servant fell down at his feet and besought him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will pay you all. And he would not, but went and cast him into prison till he should pay the debt. So when his fellow servants saw what was done, they were very sorry, and came and told to their Lord all that was done. Then his master, after that he had called him, said to him, O you wicked servant, I forgave you all that debt because you desired me. Should not you also have had compassion on your fellow servant, even as I had pity on you? And his master was wroth, and delivered him to the tormentors, till he should pay all that was due to him. So likewise shall my heavenly Father do also to you, if you from your hearts forgive not everyone his brother their trespasses. Chapter 19. And it came to pass, when Yahusha had finished these sayings, he departed from Galilee, and came into the coasts of Judea beyond Jordan. And great multitudes followed him, and he healed them there. The Pharisees also came to him, tempting him, and saying to him, Is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? And he answered and said to them, Have you not read that he which made at the beginning made them male and female? And said, For this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. Therefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore Elohim has joined together, let not man put asunder. They say to him, Why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement, and to put her away? He says to them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives. But from the beginning it was not so. And I say to you, Whosoever shall put away his wife, except for fornication, and shall marry another, commits adultery. And whoso marries her which is put away, does commit adultery. His disciples say to him, If the case of the man be so with his wife, it is not good to marry. But he said to them, All cannot receive this saying, save to whom it is given. For there are some eunuchs, which were so born from mother's womb, and there are some eunuchs, which were made eunuchs of men. And there be eunuchs, which have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. He that is able to receive, let him receive. Then were there brought to him little children, that he should put hands on them, and pray. And the disciples rebuked them. But Yahusha said, Suffer little children, and forbid them not, to come to me. For of such is the kingdom of heaven. And he laid hands on them, and departed from there. And look, one came and said to him, Good master, what good thing shall I do, that I may have eternal life? And he said to him, Why call you me good? There is none good but one, that is, Elohim. But if you will enter into life, keep the commandments. He says to him, Which? Yahusha said, You shall do no murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness. Honor your father and mother. And you shall love your neighbor as yourself. The young man says to him, All these things have I kept from my youth up. What lack I yet? Yahusha said to him, If you will be perfect, go sell that you have, and give to the poor, and you shall have treasure in heaven. And come follow me. But when the young man heard that saying, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. Then said Yahusha to his disciples, Truly I say to you, that a rich man shall hardly enter into the kingdom of heaven. And again I say to you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of Elohim. When his disciples heard, they were exceedingly amazed, saying, Who then can be saved? But Yahusha beheld, and said to them, "With men this is impossible, but with Elohim all things are possible." Then answered Peter and said to him, "Look, we have forsaken all and followed you. What shall we have therefore?" And Yahusha said to them, "Truly I say to you, that you which have followed me, in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, you also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And every one that has forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my name's sake, shall receive 100-fold, and shall inherit everlasting life. But many first shall be last, and the last first." Chapter 20. For the kingdom of heaven is like to a man who is a householder, which went out early in the morning to hire laborers into his vineyard. And when he had agreed with the laborers for a penny a day, he sent them into his vineyard. And he went out about the 3rd hour, and saw others standing idle in the marketplace, and said to them, "Go you also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right I will give you." And they went their way. Again he went out about the 6th and 9th hour, and did likewise. And about the 11th hour he went out, and found others standing idle, and says to them, "Why stand you here all the day idle?" They say to him, "Because no man has hired us." He says to them, "Go you also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right shall you receive." So when even was come, the master of the vineyard says to his steward, "Call the laborers, and give them hire, beginning from the last to the first." And when they came that about the 11th hour, they received every man a penny. But when the first came, they supposed that they should have received more, and they likewise received every man a penny. And when they had received, they murmured against the goodman of the house, saying, "These last have wrought 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us, which have borne the burden and heat of the day." But he answered one of them and said, "Friend, I do you no wrong. Did not you agree with me for a penny? Take your and go your way. I will give to this last, even as to you. Is it not lawful for me to do what I will with mine own? Is your eye evil because I am good? So the last shall be first, and the first last. For many be called, but few chosen." And Yahusha, going up to Jerusalem, took the 12 disciples apart in the way, and said to them, "Look, we go up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man shall be betrayed to the chief priests and to the scribes, and they shall condemn him to death, and shall deliver him to the Gentiles to mock, and to scourge, and to crucify. And the 3rd day he shall rise again." Then came to him the mother of Zebedee's children with her sons, worshiping and desiring a certain thing of him. And he said to her, "What will you?" She says to him, "Grant that these my 2 sons may sit, the one on your right hand and the other on the left, in your kingdom." But Yahusha answered and said, "You know not what you ask. Are you able to drink of the cup that I shall drink of, and to be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with?" They say to him, "We are able." And he says to them, "You shall drink indeed of my cup, and be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with. But to sit on my right hand and on my left is not mine to give, but for whom it is prepared of my Father." And when the 10 heard, they were moved with indignation against the 2 brethren. But Yahusha called them and said, "You know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and those who are great exercise authority upon them. But it shall not be so among you. But whosoever will be great among you let him be your minister. And whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. Even as the Son of Man came not to be ministered to, but to minister, and to give his life a ransom for many. And as they departed from Jericho, a great multitude followed him. And look, 2 blind men sitting by the wayside, when they heard that Yahusha passed by, cried out, saying, Have mercy on us, O Master, Son of David. And the multitude rebuked them, because they should hold their peace. But they cried the more, saying, Have mercy on us, O Master, Son of David. And Yahusha stood still, and called them, and said, What will you that I shall do to you? They say to him, Master, that our eyes may be opened. So Yahusha had compassion, and touched their eyes. And immediately their eyes received sight, and they followed him. Chapter 21. And when they drew near to Jerusalem, and were come to Bethphage, to the Mount of Olives, then sent Yahusha 2 disciples, saying to them, Go into the village over against you, and immediately you shall find an ass tied, and a colt with her. Loose, and bring to me. And if any say aught to you, you shall say, The Master has need of them, and immediately he will send them. All this was done, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet, saying, Tell you the daughter of Sion, Look, your king comes to you, meek, and sitting upon an ass, and a colt the foal of an ass. And the disciples went, and did as Yahusha commanded them, and brought the ass, and the colt, and put on them their clothes, and they sat on it. And a very great multitude spread their garments in the way. Others cut down branches from the trees, and strawed in the way. And the multitudes that went before, and that followed, cried, saying, Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is he that comes in the name of Yahuah. Hosanna in the highest. And when he was come into Jerusalem, all the city was moved, saying, Who is this? And the multitude said, This is Yahusha, the prophet of Nazareth of Galilee. And Yahusha went into the temple of Elohim, and cast out all them that sold and bought in the temple, and overthrew the tables of the money changers, and the seats of them that sold doves, and said to them, It is written, My house shall be called the house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves. And the blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. And when the chief priests and scribes saw the wonderful things that he did, and the children crying in the temple and saying, Hosanna to the Son of David, they were sore displeased, and said to him, Hear you what these say? And Yahusha says to them, Yes. Have you never read, Out of the mouth of babes and sucklings you have perfected praise? And he left them, and went out of the city into Bethany, and he lodged there. Now in the morning, as he returned into the city, he hungered. And when he saw a fig tree in the way, he came to it, and found nothing on it, but leaves only, and said to it, Let no fruit grow on you henceforward forever. And presently the fig tree withered away. And when the disciples saw, they marveled, saying, How soon is the fig tree withered away? Yahusha answered and said to them, Truly I say to you, if you have faith and doubt not, you shall not only do this to the fig tree, but also if you shall say to this mountain, Be you removed, and be you cast into the sea, it shall be done. And all things, whatsoever you shall ask in prayer, believing, you shall receive. And when he was come into the temple, the chief priests and the elders of the people came to him as he was teaching, and said, By what authority do you these things? And who gave you this authority? And Yahusha answered and said to them, I also will ask you one thing, which if you tell me, I in like wise will tell you by what authority I do these things. The baptism of John, from where was it? From heaven or of men? And they reasoned with themselves, saying, If we shall say, From heaven, he will say to us, Why did you not then believe him? But if we shall say of men, we fear the people, for all hold John as a prophet. And they answered Yahusha and said, We cannot tell. And he said to them, Neither tell I you by what authority I do these things. But what think you? A man had 2 sons, and he came to the first and said, Son, go work today in my vineyard. He answered and said, I will not. But afterward he repented and went. And he came to the second and said likewise. And he answered and said, I, sir, and went not. Whether of them twain did the will of Father? They say to him, The first. Yahusha says to them, Truly I say to you, that the publicans and the harlots go into the kingdom of Elohim before you. For John came to you in the way of righteousness, and you believed him not. But the publicans and the harlots believed him. And you, when you had seen, repented not afterward, that you might believe him. Hear another parable. There was a certain householder, which planted a vineyard, and hedged it round about, and digged a winepress in it, and built a tower, and let it out to husbandmen, and went into a far country. And when the time of the fruit drew near, he sent his servants to the husbandmen, that they might receive the fruits of it. And the husbandmen took his servants, and beat one, and killed another, and stoned another. Again he sent other servants more than the first, and they did to them likewise. But last of all he sent to them his son, saying, They will reverence my son. But when the husbandmen saw the son, they said among themselves, This is the heir. Come, let us kill him, and let us seize on his inheritance. And they caught him, and cast out of the vineyard, and slew. When the master therefore of the vineyard comes, what will he do to those husbandmen? They say to him, He will miserably destroy those wicked men, and will let out vineyard to other husbandmen, which shall render him the fruits in their seasons. Yahusha says to them, Did you never read in the Scriptures? The stone which the builders rejected, the same has become the head of the corner. This is Yahuwah's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Therefore say I to you, the kingdom of Elohim shall be taken from you, and given to a nation bringing forth the fruits of it. And whosoever shall fall on this stone shall be broken, but on whomsoever it shall fall, it will grind him to powder. And when the chief priests and Pharisees had heard his parables, they perceived that he spoke of them. But when they sought to lay hands on him, they feared the multitude, because they took him for a prophet. Chapter 22. The kingdom of heaven is like to a certain king, which made a marriage for his son, and sent forth his servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding, and they would not come. Again he sent forth other servants, saying, Tell them which are bidden, Look, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and fatlings killed, and all things ready. Come to the marriage. But they made light of, and went their ways, one to his farm, another to his merchandise. And the remnant took his servants, and entreated spitefully, and slew. But when the king heard, he was wroth, and he sent forth his armies, and destroyed those murderers, and burned up their city. Then says he to his servants, The wedding is ready, but those who were bidden were not worthy. Go you therefore into the highways, and as many as you shall find, bid to the marriage. So those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all as many as they found, both bad and good. And the wedding was furnished with guests. And when the king came in to see the guests, he saw there a man which had not on a wedding garment. And he says to him, Friend, how came you in here not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless. Then said the king to the servants, Bind him hand and foot, and take him away, and cast into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few chosen. Then went the Pharisees, and took counsel how they might entangle him in his talk. And they sent out to him their disciples with the Herodians, saying, Master, we know that you are true, and teach the way of Elohim in truth, neither car you for any. For you regard not the person of men. Tell us therefore, what think you? Is it lawful to give tribute to Caesar or not? But Yahusha perceived their wickedness, and said, Why tempt you me, hypocrites? Show me the tribute money. And they brought to him a penny. And he says to them, Whose this image and superscription? They say to him, Caesar's. Then says he to them, Render therefore to Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and to Elohim the things that are Elohim's. When they had heard, they marveled, and left him, and went their way. The same day came to him the Sadducees, which say that there is no resurrection, and asked him, saying, Master, Moses said, If a man die having no children, his brother shall marry his wife, and raise up seed to his brother. Now there were with us 7 brethren, and the first, when he had married a wife, deceased, and having no issue, left his wife to his brother. Likewise the second also, and the third to the 7th. And last of all, the woman died also. Therefore in the resurrection, whose wife shall she be of the 7? For they all had her. Yahusha answered and said to them, You are mistaken, not knowing the Scriptures, nor the power of Elohim. For in the resurrection they neither marry, nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of Elohim in heaven. But as touching the resurrection of the dead, have you not read that which was spoken to you by Elohim, saying, I am the Elohim of Abraham, and the Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob? Elohim is not the Elohim of the dead, but of the living. And when the multitude heard, they were astonished at his doctrine. But when the Pharisees had heard that he had put the Sadducees to silence, they were gathered together. Then one of them, a lawyer, asked, tempting him and saying, Master, which the great commandment in the law? Yahusha said to him, You shall love Yahuah your Elohim with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second like to it, You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets. While the Pharisees were gathered together, Yahusha asked them, saying, What think you of Messiah? Whose son is he? They say to him, Of David. He says to them, How then does David in spirit call him Master, saying, Yahuah said to my Master, Sit you on my right hand, till I make your enemies your footstool? If David then call him Master, how is he his son? And no man was able to answer him a word, neither durst any from that day forth ask him any more. Chapter 23. Then spoke Yahusha to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, The Scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, observe and do, but do not you after their works, for they say, and do not. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay on men's shoulders, but they will not move them with one of their fingers. But all their works they do for to be seen of men. They make broad their phylacteries, and enlarge the borders of their garments, and love the uppermost rooms at feasts, and the chief seats in the synagogues, and greetings in the markets, and to be called of men, Rabbi, Rabbi. But be not you called Rabbi, for one is your Master Messiah, and all you are brethren. And call no man your Father upon the earth, for one is your Father, which is in heaven. Neither be you called masters, for one is your Master Messiah. But he that is great among you shall be your servant. And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted. But woe to you, Scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For you neither go in, neither suffer you them that are entering to go in. Woe to you, Scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayer. Therefore you shall receive the greater damnation. Woe to you, Scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you compass sea and land to make one proselyte, and when he is made, you make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves. Woe to you, blind guides, which say, Whosoever shall swear by the temple, it is nothing. But whosoever shall swear by the gold of the temple, he is a debtor. Fools and blind, for whether is greater the gold or the temple that sanctifies the gold? And whosoever shall swear by the altar, it is nothing. But whosoever swears by the gift that is upon it, he is guilty. Fools and blind, for whether greater the gift or the altar that sanctifies the gift? Whoso therefore shall swear by the altar, swears by it, and by all things on it. And whoso shall swear by the temple swears by it, and by him that dwells in it. And he that shall swear by heaven swears by the throne of Elohim, and by him that sits on it. Woe to you, Scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought you to have done, and not to leave the other undone. Blind guides, which strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. Woe to you, Scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of extortion and excess. Blind Pharisee, cleanse first that within the cup and platter, that the outside of them may be clean also. Woe to you, Scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you are like to whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead bones, and of all uncleanness. Even so, you also outwardly appear righteous to men, but within you are full of hypocrisy and iniquity. Woe to you, Scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! Because you build the tombs of the prophets, and garnish the sepulchres of the righteous, and say, If we had been in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. Therefore you be witnesses to yourselves, that you are the children of them which killed the prophets. Fill you up then the measure of your fathers. Serpents, generation of vipers, how can you escape the damnation of hell? Therefore look, I send to you prophets and wise men and scribes, and of them you shall kill and crucify, and of them shall you scourge in your synagogues and persecute from city to city, that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zacharias, son of Barachias, whom you slew between the temple and the altar. Truly, I say to you, all these things shall come upon this generation. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, that kill the prophets and stone them which are sent to you? How often would I have gathered your children together, even as a hen gathers her chickens under wings, and you would not. Look, your house is left to you desolate. For I say to you, you shall not see me from now on, till you shall say, Blessed is he that comes in the name of Yahuah. Chapter 24. And Yahusha went out, and departed from the temple. And his disciples came to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yahusha said to them, See you not all these things? Truly I say to you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what the sign of your coming and of the end of the world? And Yahusha answered and said to them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Messiah, and shall deceive many. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled. For all must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes, in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you. And you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, for a witness to all nations. And then shall the end come. When you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso reads, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe to them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray you that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Then, if any man shall say to you, Lo, here Messiah, or there, believe not. For there shall arise false messiahs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Look, I have told you before. Therefore, if they shall say to you, Look, he is in the desert, go not forth. Look in the secret chambers, believe not. For as the lightning comes out of the east, and shines even to the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. And they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So likewise you, when you shall see all these things, know that it is near, at the doors. Truly, I say to you, this generation shall not pass, till all these things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. But of that day and hour knows no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came, and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall two be in the field, the one shall be taken, and the other left. Two grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken, and the other left. Watch therefore, for you know not what hour your master does come. But know this, that if the goodman of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore be you also ready, for in such an hour as you think not the Son of Man comes. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his master has made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed that servant, whom his master, when he comes, shall find so doing. Truly I say to you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. And if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my master delays his coming, and shall begin to smite fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken, the master of that servant shall come in a day when he looks not for, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Chapter 25. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened to 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps, and took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, Look, the bridegroom comes. Go you out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, Give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answered, saying, Lest there be not enough for us and you. But go you rather to them that sell, and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came. And those who were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. Afterward came also the other virgins, saying, Master, Master, open to us. But he answered and said, Truly I say to you, I know you not. Watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour in which the Son of Man comes. For as a man traveling into a far country called his own servants, and delivered to them his goods, and to one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to every man according to his several ability, and immediately took his journey. Then he that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same, and made other 5 talents. And likewise he that 2, he also gained other 2. But he that had received 1 went and digged in the earth, and hid his master's money. After a long time the master of those servants comes, and reckons with them. And so he that had received 5 talents came, and brought other 5 talents, saying, Master, you delivered to me 5 talents. Look, I have gained beside them 5 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter you into the joy of your master. He also that had received 2 talents came and said, Master, you delivered to me 2 talents. Look, I have gained 2 other talents beside them. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter you into the joy of your master. Then he, which had received the 1 talent, came and said, Master, I knew you that you are an hard man, reaping where you have not sown, and gathering where you have not strawed. And I was afraid, and went and hid your talent in the earth. Behold, you have what is yours. His master answered and said to him, Wicked and slothful servant, you knew that I reap where I sowed not, and gather where I haven't strawed. You ought therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and at my coming I should have received mine own with usury. Take therefore the talent from him, and give to him which has 10 talents. For to everyone that has shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that has not shall be taken away even that which he has. And cast you the unprofitable servant into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth, when the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him. Then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divides sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then shall the king say to them on his right hand, Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was an hungered, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Master, when saw we you an hungered, and fed? Or thirsty, and gave drink? When saw we you a stranger, and took in? Or naked, and clothed? Or when saw we you sick, or in prison, and came to you? And the king shall answer, and say to them, Truly I say to you, inasmuch as you have done to one of the least of these, my brethren, you have done to me. Then shall he say also to them on the left hand, Depart from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was an hungered, and you gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you took me not in. Naked, and you clothed me not. Sick and in prison, and you visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Master, when saw we you an hungered, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister to you? Then shall he answer them, saying, Truly I say to you, inasmuch as you did not to one of the least of these, you did not to me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal. Chapter 26. And it came to pass, when Yahusha had finished all these sayings, he said to his disciples, You know that after 2 days is the Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified. Then assembled together the chief priests, and the scribes, and the elders of the people, to the palace of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas, and consulted that they might take Yahusha by subtlety and kill. But they said, Not on the feast, lest there be an uproar among the people. Now when Yahusha was in Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, there came to him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat. But when his disciples saw, they had indignation, saying, "To what purpose this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor." When Yahusha understood, he said to them, "Why trouble you the woman? For she has wrought a good work upon me. For you have the poor always with you, but me you have not always. For in that she has poured this ointment on my body, she did for my burial. Truly I say to you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, shall also this, that this woman has done, be told for a memorial of her." Then one of the 12, called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said, "What will you give me, and I will deliver him to you?" And they covenanted with him for 30 pieces of silver. And from that time he sought opportunity to betray him. Now the first of the unleavened bread the disciples came to Yahusha, saying to him, "Where will you that we prepare for you to eat the Passover?" And he said, "Go into the city to such a man, and say to him, the Master says, my time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at your house with my disciples." And the disciples did as Yahusha had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Now when the evening was come, he sat down with the 12, and as they did eat, he said, "Truly I say to you, that one of you shall betray me." And they were exceeding sorrowful, and began every one of them to say to him, "Master, is it I?" And he answered and said, "He that dips hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. The Son of Man goes as it is written of him, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born." Then Judas, which betrayed him, answered and said, "Master, is it I?" He said to him, "You have said." And as they were eating, Yahusha took bread, and blessed, and brake, and gave to the disciples, and said, "Take, eat. This is my body." And he took the cup, and gave thanks, and gave to them, saying, "Drink you all of it. For this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. But I say to you, I will not drink from now on of this fruit of the vine, until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom." And when they had sung an hymn, they went out into the Mount of Olives. Then says Yahusha to them, "All you shall be offended because of me this night. For it is written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered abroad. But after I am risen again, I will go before you into Galilee." Peter answered and said to him, "Though all shall be offended because of you, will I never be offended." Yahusha said to him, "Truly I say to you, that this night before the cock crow, you shall deny me thrice." Peter said to him, "Though I should die with you, yet will I not deny you." Likewise also said all the disciples. Then comes Yahusha with them to a place called Gethsemane, and says to the disciples, "Sit you here, while I go and pray yonder." And he took with him Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee, and began to be sorrowful and very heavy. And he went a little further, and fell on his face, and prayed, saying, "O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you." And he comes to the disciples, and finds them asleep, and says to Peter, "What, could you not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray, that you enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." He went away again the second time, and prayed, saying, "O my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink it, your will be done." And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. And he left them and went away again and prayed the third time, saying the same words. Then comes he to his disciples and says to them, "Sleep on now and take rest. Look, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. Look, he is at hand that does betray me." And while he yet spoke, behold, Judas, one of the 12, came, and with him a great multitude with swords and staves from the chief priests and elders of the people. Now he that betrayed him gave them a sign, saying, "Whomsoever I shall kiss, that same is he. Hold him fast." And immediately he came to Yahusha and said, "Hail, Master," and kissed him. And Yahusha said to him, "Friend, therefore are you come?" Then came they and laid hands on Yahusha and took him. And look, one of them which were with Yahusha stretched out hand and drew his sword and struck a servant of the high priest and smote off his ear. Then said Yahusha to him, "Put up again your sword into his place. For all those who take the sword shall perish with the sword. Think you that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels? But how then shall the scriptures be fulfilled, that thus it must be?" In that same hour said Yahusha to the multitudes, "Are you come out as against a thief with swords and staves for to take me? I sat daily with you teaching in the temple, and you laid no hold on me. But all this was done, that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled." Then all the disciples forsook him and fled. And those who had laid hold on Yahusha led away to Caiaphas the high priest, where the scribes and the elders were assembled. But Peter followed him afar off to the high priest's palace, and went in, and sat with the servants, to see the end. Now the chief priests and elders and all the council sought false witness against Yahusha to put him to death, but found none. Yes, though many false witnesses came, found they none. At the last came 2 false witnesses, and said, "This said, I am able to destroy the temple of Elohim, and to build it in 3 days." And the high priest arose and said to him, "Answer you nothing? What these witness against you?" But Yahusha held his peace. And the high priest answered and said to him, "I adjure you by the living Elohim, that you tell us whether you be the Messiah, the Son of Elohim." Yahusha says to him, "You have said, nevertheless I say to you, after this shall you see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power, and coming in the clouds of heaven." Then the high priest rent his clothes, saying, "He has spoken blasphemy. What further need have we of witnesses? Look, now you have heard his blasphemy. What think you?" They answered and said, "He is guilty of death." Then did they spit in his face and buffeted him, and others smote with the palms of their hands, saying, "Prophesy to us, you Messiah. Who is he that smote you?" Now Peter sat without in the palace, and a damsel came to him, saying, "You also were with Yahusha of Galilee." But he denied before all, saying, "I know not what you say." And when he was gone out into the porch, another saw him, and said to them that were there, "This was also with Yahusha of Nazareth." And again he denied with an oath, "I do not know the man." And after a while came to those who stood by, and said to Peter, "Surely you also are of them, for your speech bewrays you." Then began he to curse and to swear, "I know not the man." And immediately the cock crew. And Peter remembered the word of Yahusha, which said to him, "Before the cock crow, you shall deny me thrice." And he went out and wept bitterly. Chapter 27. When the morning was come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Yahusha to put him to death. And when they had bound him, they led away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate the governor. Then Judas, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself, and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, What is that to us? See to it yourself. And he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple, and departed, and went and hanged himself. And the chief priests took the silver pieces, and said, It is not lawful for to put them into the treasury, because it is the price of blood. And they took counsel, and bought with them the potter's field to bury strangers in. Therefore that field was called the field of blood to this day. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremy the prophet, saying, And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him that was valued, whom they of the children of Israel did value, and gave them for the potter's field, as Yahuah appointed me. And Yahusha stood before the governor. And the governor asked him, saying, Are you the king of the Jews? And Yahusha said to him, You say. And when he was accused of the chief priests and elders, he answered nothing. Then said Pilate to him, Hear you not how many things they witness against you? And he answered him to never a word, insomuch that the governor marveled greatly. Now at the feast the governor was wont to release to the people a prisoner, whom they would. And they had then a notable prisoner, called Barabbas. Therefore when they were gathered together, Pilate said to them, Whom will you that I release to you? Barabbas or Yahusha, which is called Messiah? For he knew that for envy they had delivered him. When he was set down on the judgment seat, his wife sent to him, saying, Have you nothing to do with that just man? For I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him. But the chief priests and elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask Barabbas and destroy Yahusha. The governor answered and said to them, Whether of the twain will you that I release to you? They said Barabbas. Pilate says to them, What shall I do then with Yahusha, which is called Messiah? All say to him, Let him be crucified. And the governor said, Why? What evil has he done? But they cried out the more, saying, Let him be crucified. When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person, see you. Then answered all the people, and said, His blood on us and on our children. Then released he Barabbas to them, and when he had scourged Yahusha, he delivered to be crucified. Then the soldiers of the governor took Yahusha into the common hall, and gathered to him the whole band. They stripped him, and put on him a scarlet robe. And when they had platted a crown of thorns, they put upon his head, and a reed in his right hand, and they bowed the knee before him, and mocked him, saying, Hail, King of the Jews! And they spit upon him, and took the reed, and smote him on the head. And after that they had mocked him, they took the robe off from him, and put his own raiment on him, and led him away to crucify. And as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by name. Him they compelled to bear his cross. And when they were come to a place called Golgotha, that is to say, a place of a skull, they gave him vinegar to drink mingled with gall. And when he had tasted, he would not drink. And they crucified him, and parted his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots. And sitting down, they watched him there, and set up over his head his accusation written, "This is Yahusha, the King of the Jews." Then were there two thieves crucified with him, one on the right hand and another on the left. And those who passed by reviled him, wagging their heads and saying, "You that destroy the temple and build in 3 days, save yourself. If you be the Son of Elohim, come down from the cross." Likewise also the chief priests, mocking, with the scribes and elders, said, "He saved others. Himself he cannot save. If he be the King of Israel, let him now come down from the cross, and we will believe him. He trusted in Elohim. Let him deliver him now, if he will have him. For he said, I am the Son of Elohim." The thieves also, which were crucified with him, cast the same in his teeth. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land to the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour Yahusha cried with a loud voice, saying, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani?" That is to say, my Elohim, why have you forsaken me?" Some of them that stood there when they heard said, "This calls for Elias." And immediately one of them ran, and took a sponge, and filled with vinegar, and put on a reed, and gave him to drink. The rest said, "Let be. Let us see whether Elias will come to save him." Yahusha, when he had cried again with a loud voice, gave up his spirit. And look, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom. And the earth did quake, and the rocks rent. And the graves were opened. And many bodies of the saints which slept arose, and came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city, and appeared to many. Now when the centurion and those who were with him, watching Yahusha, saw the earthquake, and those things that were done, they feared greatly, saying, "Truly, this was the Son of Elohim." And many women were there beholding afar off, which followed Yahusha from Galilee, ministering to him, among which was Mary Magdalene, and Mary the mother of James and Joses, and the mother of Zebedee's children. When the even was come, there came a rich man of Arimathea, named Joseph, who also himself was Yahusha disciple. He went to Pilate, and begged the body of Yahusha. Then Pilate commanded the body to be delivered. And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth, and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had hewn out in the rock. And he rolled a great stone to the door of the sepulchre, and departed. And there was Mary Magdalene, and the other Mary, sitting over against the sepulchre. Now the next day, that followed the day of the preparation, the chief priests and Pharisees came together to Pilate, saying, "Sir, we remember that deceiver said, while he was yet alive, 'After 3 days I will rise again.' Command therefore that the sepulchre be made sure until the 3rd day, lest his disciples come by night and steal him away, and say to the people, He is risen from the dead. So the last error shall be worse than the first." Pilate said to them, "You have a watch. Go your way. Make as sure as you can." So they went, and made the sepulchre sure, sealing the stone and setting a watch. Chapter 28. In the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre. And look, there was a great earthquake, for the angel of Yahuah descended from heaven, and came and rolled back the stone from the door, and sat upon it. His countenance was like lightning, and his raiment white as snow. And for fear of him, the keepers did shake, and became as dead. And the angel answered, and said to the women, "Fear not you, for I know that you seek Yahusha, which was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen, as he said. Come, see the place where the Master lay, and go quickly and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead. And look, he goes before you into Galilee. There shall you see him. Behold, I have told you. And they departed quickly from the sepulchre with fear and great joy, and did run to bring his disciples word. And as they went to tell his disciples, look, Yahusha met them, saying, All hail. And they came and held him by the feet, and worshipped him. Then said Yahusha to them, Be not afraid. Go tell my brethren that they go into Galilee, and there shall they see me. Now when they were going, look, some of the watch came into the city, and showed to the chief priests all the things that were done. And when they were assembled with the elders, and had taken counsel, they gave large money to the soldiers, saying, Say you, his disciples came by night, and stole him while we slept. And if this come to the governor's ears, we will persuade him, and secure you. So they took the money, and did as they were taught. And this saying is commonly reported among the Jews until this day. Then the 11 disciples went away into Galilee, into a mountain where Yahusha had appointed them. And when they saw him, they worshipped him. But some doubted. And Yahusha came and spoke to them, saying, All power is given to me in heaven and in earth. Go you, therefore, and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the set-apart Spirit, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you always, to the end of the world. Amen.